Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Today we are looking at English as a vocation, learning English as a vocation. A vocation is generally defined as something which you are called to do, not only a job, but some kind of insightful way of doing that job which fits your personality. That's a vocation. A vocation can be anything. It can be something which you show great passion for, which seems to come from your heart or your soul. It also can be something which you're very, very good at and which you enjoy. These indeed are defined as vocations. Well, how does this affect learning English? Well, if you learn English as a vocation, it becomes something which you devote your life to, something which you devote your attention to. How do you do that? Well, there is a very famous proverb which says, "With your thoughts you make the world." So a very good place to start is with your thinking. Many people don't realize that your thoughts, especially when it comes to learning English, will define how successful you will be. On italki, when I'm teaching people, I regularly hear the same words. My English is bad, my English is terrible. It's like a tape, a cassette tape, which goes round and round and again and again. I used to think that I attracted neurotic people, but that can't be right because I'm perfectly fine. So the question then is, where do these negative thoughts come from? Why are they coming up again and again? My English is bad, my English is terrible. I don't want to talk English with anybody because I don't want them to hear my terrible English. Where does all this stuff come from? Where does all this stuff come from, this idea that your English has to be bad? Even if you can say only one word in English, or even make one sentence, such as, "Where's the local coffee shop?" or "These cookies are delicious," that's enough to say that your English is getting there. And certainly it's a very good start if you can say that. But behind it, there seems to be all of this negative stuff. I want to tell you that all of this negative stuff, this thing about my English is bad, my accent is horrible, it doesn't actually come from anywhere. There's no prejudgment or person sitting on a throne in the English world saying, "Aha, Alice's English is bad. I will just give her that thought so she knows." It's your thinking that's doing this. It's your thinking which is pushing you towards some kind of self-judgment. You might think then, well, that's fine. That's just how I think about my English. Well, actually, no, it's not fine. It's not fine because you're doing more than introducing your thoughts about your terrible English. You're reducing your English down to becoming a commodity. Because when you have a thought like that, it opens your mind up to looking for a solution. But that's okay if you want to make your English better, but the starting point can never be, "Oh, my English is terrible." Your starting point has to be, "My English is growing." And then you're leaving room in your mind for it getting better. You might argue with me and say, well, negative thinking is motivational. It pushes me to make my English better. But I would say no, that can't be the case, because negative thinking doesn't have any foundation or basis. It's simply a negative thought that can't take you anywhere, because it doesn't begin anywhere. A better thought would be, "My English is growing," or "I'm opening my mind to making my English better." I remember when I was a child, I used to love eating delicious candies. And my grandmother used to tell me, remember, you are what you eat. You are what you eat. And with learning English, it becomes what you really believe. And you have to be careful with this, because if you really say to yourself, oh, my English is terrible, I'm a terrible person, I can't learn, then guess what? You won't. So you really need to think of this in the long term. Do you think that the most successful people in the world criticized themselves? Well, yes, they probably did. They probably had quite a low opinion of themselves, but I'm quite sure that their minds were open enough to learning. If they always said, I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad, they wouldn't have gotten to any place which you would recognize as being famous, as being popular, as being people that are worthy of respect. They simply would have disappeared, because if you hold the belief that you're such a bad person and the thing that you're doing is so bad, you can't really go anywhere with that. You have to have a vision, and you must have hope. So today I would say, if you want to make English into your vocation, if you want to make that your pathway in life, which is suitable for many people, you don't begin simply by adding the amount of time you study every day. You begin by looking at your English. Perhaps write some affirmation cards. My English is good. My English is acceptable. My English is growing. I'm becoming a better person every day. You might associate this with business tips, how to be successful in business, etc. But this also works in language learning. So today I want to challenge you. Make English your vocation. And you might be surprised once you start seeing it in a positive light rather than in a negative one, how much you change and how quickly you learn more. See you. Bye.